What's going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here with Cheesehead TV, ready for our first stock report of the preseason. I was in Wisconsin for 2 weeks. Now I'm back in New York, but the preseason game on Saturday gives us a good opportunity to pull back and take a look at who's rising, who's falling, who's helped themselves, who's hurt themselves after a game where the Packers lost 30-10 and it didn't feel that close against the Jets. Some guys, when you sift through the detritus, certainly put some good things on tape. Others, not so much. Let's dive in. First up, you look at a guy whose stock is clearly on the rise, and that's Melton. From the work he's done at Ray Nitschke Field through that first preseason game, I talked about it on Packers Daily a couple of days ago. He certainly looks the part. There's no doubt that this guy is taken to the cornerback position extremely well. That work that he did this offseason, coming into camp, nothing looking too big for him. I think you saw a guy who's still somewhat acclimating to the position there against the Jets. Probably a play or two. Matt mentioned one where he's playing a little bit far off, where they like him to drive on that receiver a little bit more. But for the most part, down in and down out, a really good performance for your first game action. Definitely arrow pointing up on Melton. Another guy whose stock is headed upwards is Chris Brooks, the running back who last year certainly served a role mostly in pass protection. Wasn't really asked to do a ton of work in the passing game, a little bit when it came to running the football traditionally as a back, but certainly this summer he's been asked to do all of these aspects at the back position, and he's come through with flying colors, including Saturday's game against New York, whether it's barreling through what was not a ton of available space given the makeshift line he had in front of him, to his stalwart work in pass protection, both in that game and throughout the summer at Ray Nitschke Field. Brooks is certainly taking advantage of an opportunity that's been presented because Marshawn Lloyd, Emmanuel Wilson, they've been on the sideline with injuries. Some guys have been given more opportunities, including Brooks, and he's certainly taking advantage. His stock is on the way up. One other guy whose stock is certainly up is Jordan Morgan, playing left tackle, a position that we thought as fans he was probably going to get a fair shake at last season, though they seem to stick him at right guard and never really give him an opportunity at left tackle. That has materialized this summer, mostly because Rasheed Walker has been injured. I will admit, watching him at Ray Nitschke Field and on family night, very up and down affairs, I was starting to wonder if he could really even start to maybe hopefully take that step where, okay, it looks like he's putting it together. That seemed to happen against the Jets. You look at his, I believe it's 10 snaps, almost virtual teaching tape. There's not a rep where you look and you think, oh, he's overwhelmed or he's a little late off the ball or they seem to be able to take advantage of him. Really good work at left tackle from Morgan. I know Rasheed Walker is back at practice as of today. We'll see how they start divvying those snaps up at left tackle, but Jordan Morgan, his arrow is finally pointing up at left tackle. Speaking of offensive linemen, and unfortunately this is the first stock on the way down, that's Jacob Monk, a guy who I thought played much better down the stretch last summer, especially throughout those preseason games last year. His first opportunity in the preseason this season was an affair to forget. 3 holding calls. One of them was a little ticky-tack, but certainly not a great day. Didn't do a very good job in really any aspect of the game, whether it's the run blocking, the pass blocking. He looked overwhelmed at times, gave up way too many quick pressures. And this is basically an extension of some of the work we've seen over at Ray Nitschke Field. Not to say he hasn't done well at times, because he has, but on balance, overall, it's been a rough start to camp for Jacob Monk. Another guy whose stock is probably down at least a little bit after that preseason game is Mecole Hardman. After hearing so much about what he was doing this offseason, as far as not just returning and stuff from scrimmage, but just being an explosive playmaker for the offense, you get to Saturday night and both of those miscues as a returner, which is most likely his path to this roster, it's an alarm bell for a guy you thought you could set it and forget it at returner to make 2 really easily avoided mistakes, both fielding it at the 5 and then trying to field the ball off a bounce and essentially giving a possession to the Jets inside the 10-yard line. Those are brutal mistakes that you just cannot have. And the whole reason you want him back there is because you don't want Jaden Reed making some of those same mistakes that we've seen from him over his course of, being a punt returner in Green Bay. Hardman's got to bounce back in a big way, both at practice and these next 2 preseason games. Another guy whose stock is probably down along the defensive line is Karl Brooks, especially when you pair him with Colby Wooden, who I think has had a really good summer and had a very good showing in the preseason game against the Jets. Brooks has been pretty invisible, and I know he put a few good reps on tape against the Jets on Saturday night. I don't want to completely dismiss his body of work, but on balance, as a whole picture this summer, he has been almost forgettable. There's been very few kind of splash plays, obviously. Now, it's hard. I get it when even when the pads come on and you are doing a little bit more physical work, you're not allowed to take guys to the ground. So even if you are able to break through or you are able to shed a block and get to the ball carrier, you're still not allowed or able to make a tackle. So I get that there's, some context here, but day in and day out, you keep waiting for Karl Brooks to show even just an inkling of the exciting plays, the big moments that we saw from him last year in his rookie season. That has not materialized. Now, there's a ways to go here this summer, so we'll see what happens. But right now, I would say stock down on Karl Brooks. And finally, just because I don't want to end on a downer, I'm going to go with another stock up on Baron Sorell, the rookie who I admit had a bit of a quiet start to training camp. You did wonder if maybe the jump to the NFL level, that NFL competition, might prove to be the neutralizing factor in his game. But I tell you what, over the course of the last 2 or 3 practices, and then including Saturday night's performance against the Jets, I mean, this is an exciting young prospect, and not just as a pass rusher, though obviously that will be welcome, but his work against the run game has been impressive as well. This is a kid who hopefully is just starting to figure it out. But right now, arrow up, stock up on Baron Sorell. What do you guys think? Give me your stock up, stock down here throughout the first preseason game, and then tell your friends and tell your family. Cheesehead TV, we are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide.